from school and says he doesn't have anybody to play with or won't go to anybody's houses, you need to talk to the school, and then you need to go to the parents. We're really reticent in these day and age of saying something to another parent, but first of all, if you don't tell someone else, they don't know, and there's no way to stop it. It's something that it's outside a kid's realm, and parents need to be responsible for that.
So at what point if my child is being bullied at the school, and let's say it spills off-site, at what point are the teachers no longer involved? Because I would, just as you stated before, you go to a person of authority. Let's just say it's happening after school, or it's happening as my child leaves school. Should I approach the teacher, or should I not? What are your suggestions?
In the school situation, you need to talk to the teacher and then probably take it to the next level of administration if it doesn't end very quickly, whether that's the assistant head or the principal, headmaster, whatever the school's chain of command is. But you need to really pursue it, because most likely your child's not the only one being bullied as well. So it's something that really needs to be stopped, because it will pervade as they get older. Each grade, it'll continue to go on. It's not just an isolated incident. So that's why it's really important that you address the school side. But if it's off the playground, that's when you have to notice, you're going to have to observe that you are going to need to talk to the child's parents, someone else to get involved. If sometimes there's no way to get involved with the other parents, it's not a close-knit community, then you really have to withdraw your child from whatever activity that is. Or you just have to take a different route home, you talk to the bus driver, whatever it is that you need to do to ensure that it's not happening continually is really important, because it feeds on itself, it grows, and it's really, really hard for whoever's being bullied. Then they start to expect it.
Darby, I want to go at this from a different angle. And before this, I get to that point, we're speaking with Darby Fox here. We're talking about bullying. We're talking about cyberbullying. We're talking about what are some of the indicators that we should be looking at to tell if our children are being bullied. So the other side of the coin is, what if I'm suspicious of my child bullying other kids?
A good way to get a sense for that is, you mentioned one good thing early on, that you have a larger child than most of the kids in the class, so you are always kind of talking to him, just making sure he's aware of what's going on. That is something we should all be doing, is kind of monitoring their behavior. And if you hear that your child is cutting down other kids a lot, making fun of people, saying, oh, she's so fat, or he's so ugly, or they're so stupid, any of that really derogatory behavior is an indication that they're probably not nicer to them to their face, that there is something that they would, and if you have sort of the alpha child, the kid that is the leader in the group, and they're derogatory, that's a good sign that they may be isolating someone. They're going to be leaving someone out. And again, notice early on we say that they should invite everybody to a birthday party or an event. Once you start noticing that your kids are really isolating a lot of people, or that somebody is left out often, then you got to look at your own child and ask them why, and tell them it's not okay. And ensure that they extend the invitation for the play date or whatever it is. You really have to get involved as a parent to put an end to it. You can't just leave it to the children.
So tell me this much, as we're flipping the coin on the other side, how should I receive the parent that knocks on my door and says, hey, Mr. Hicks, how are you doing? I want to let you know your child is bullying my child, because that's a very touchy subject.
It's a touchy subject, and it's hard not to be defensive when Mr. Hicks is accusing your child of that. But you need to just listen and have a conversation with them and say, okay, thank you for the information, and then you need to get the other side of the story. It's also important, and I just want to add here, that if your child is being bullied or they tell you they're being bullied, you really want to get their idea of why they're being bullied. Or is it because you're not as smart, or whatever your child whoever's being bullied's perception is really important, because then we can sort of determine where it's coming from or how to put an end to it. So if Mr. Hicks is saying that, your child's the one and gives you a long story, you can probably tell if that's true or not. And you need to then talk to your child about it and ask them. You work through it with them. What would it feel like if you were so-and-so? How would it make you feel? What challenges do you think that kid has? And that's what we don't do well, is put ourselves in, let our kids see what it would be like to be in the other position.
That is so
we
true.
We usually just say, don't do it. Just don't do
right.
it. And that doesn't help.
I'm going to tell you, Darby, you've given me some tips tonight. I'm not telling on myself, but I'm a realist, because I know the horseplay does happen in third grade. And, there's been times when, the teacher has said to my son, well, they were playing, a little rough, and I just want to let you know. And we,
right.
My wife and I, we were defensive. We were just like, well, what do you mean? And without sitting back and talking with our child. So, I mean, I don't know many people that would, admit to this, but I'm like, yeah, it has happened, because, my son is the tallest one in the class, and he's pretty solid. So I tell him some of the things that happen, like when you guys are horse playing around and wrestling, you got to be careful. But,
right, he's going to inadvertently maybe hurt someone, or
yes,
people may be saying you're such a big lug. Whatever it is, you just need to get the perspective of both sides.
Yes. Darby, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out, switching conference bridges, and just being so helpful and flexible with us. Tell us, I mean, because I've seen previously you on Fox and Friends and other media outlets. So tell us about your website. Plug your website. Tell us best ways to get in contact with you. All of the above.
Well, on the website, it's darbyfox.com. Also, YouTube channel is the same thing, which has clips. It has parenting tips, and it has some of the TV clips that we've done already. But hopefully the website, and we're working on expanding it, gives people a place that they can ask a question that I can respond to. And it also gives tips on just different ways to look at problems, or different angles to look at the family structure when something keeps coming up and you're kind of stuck with what you're doing with it. Hopefully some tips on different ways to discipline, to think through timeouts, things like that for younger kids. So the website hopefully is a pretty interactive resource of solutions that might be a little different.
Okay. I want to give you a round of applause. And I want, definitely, I'm going to email Shay and Christina. Rubenstein PR definitely came through. I want to thank you so much for taking out a few minutes of your evening to join us. I want to say thanks once again.
It's a tough
No
subject,
problem.
so thank you.
Thanks
Have
again.
Have a good night.
You too. And that was Darby Fox. Really great guest, really some helpful tips. And, for me, it's a situation that I was dealing with where, my child was looked at as the bully. So it really hits home. Let's really quickly go into, we were talking about purchasing gifts. It's the holiday season. Have you put up your Christmas tree yet? What do you think about Starbucks with those the red cups? Without any mention of the holiday or anything else like that on them. Our good friend Gary Malevsky, who joined us from Snoop Wall Security a few months back, sent us an article, and it basically talked about a few months ago It talked about, National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and that was in October. But it really reigns supreme now because if you think about it, everyone now is. I think there was. I'm not sure of the exact amount. I'm going to say Cyber Monday generates about $3 billion of purchases. So let's put it this way. Millions and millions of online identity are stolen in America with more than 200 published breaches. As I mentioned at the top of the show, we're now getting close to 1 billion records of identity theft. And like I said, that's more than 3 times the population. People are still saying, hey, I don't know about this. I'm not sure what to do. So a tip we should have given you for Cyber Monday, but something that's going to be relevant for the remainder of this holiday season. What to do during Christmas time and the shopping experience, and because people aren't actually going out to the box stores, the brick and mortar stores anymore. They're shopping online. Thursday evening, I had to go back. I left my brother-in-law's and I went back to the Hilton in Colonial Heights, Virginia, and the Hilton is located next to an H.H. Gregg. So I happened to walk into the H.H. Gregg, and guess what? It was fairly empty. Now, was it fairly empty because H.H. Gregg is not, a hidden store? No, people are shopping online. They don't want to deal with that. Every every Black Friday, you see the videos of people going crazy and pushing around each other and going nuts. They're totally taking that aspect away. Why? Because people are shopping online. So what are some of the things that we should be doing? What are some of the best tips that while you enjoyed your Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Cyber Week and the entire Christmas shopping experience, you got to do it without losing your privacy and identity or putting your child's safety at risk. What are the things you should do? You should change your passwords. And we mean all of them. So you got to do it now and do it frequently as you can tolerate. Most organizations have policies put in place where every 60 or 90 days you're forced to change your password. Maybe you should set that, mentally. You set it in your calendar reminder on your iPhone or your Samsung phone. Set it in there. Maybe the max every 120 days. Reset some of your passwords. Because your passwords at a certain amount of time become cached. Now, and a lot of times they become cached on your local computers at home, and that's great. But what about the times when we're using these public kiosks where we just want to check something really quick? So the deal is, if you don't change your passwords often, then any unique characters you can think of, a $sign or exclamation point, replace the letter O with a 0. Because it goes a long way in preventing the brute force attacks against your password. Also, never trust anyone on the phone who asks for your password, especially if they called you. The same holds true with emails. Both telephone and email are used by people who try to get your passwords pretending to be the IRS, your bank, or someone else you have an account with. These places are never going to request your passwords or any type of personal identifiable information. Clean up your apps. You got to assume that most of your smartphone and tablet apps are malware that spies on you and your online behavior. So the question is, do you really need them? Delete any apps that you don't use often. Replace apps that take advantage of too many of your privacy settings and similar apps that don't. On an iPhone, you're not being eavesdropped on until you run that specific app. Shopping online for websites